What is availability heuristic? How does it influence our decision making? Availability heuristic means that people tend to outweigh the information that is more frequently accessible in their memories than the content of that information. It's about how our memory and recent experiences influence our decision making. Think about it. How often do you trust your memory as a perfect reflection of reality? Our memory is not a perfect recording device storing and playing back events exactly as they happened. Instead, memory is a reconstructed process. It pieces bits of information to construct what we perceive as a coherent and continuous narrative. Think of memory as an artist, not a camera. Every time we remember something, our brains rebuild the event, pulling together fragments from different places in our brain. This reconstruction process is influenced by our personal preferences, beliefs, emotions, and even cultural context. This is why our memory is selective. We remember certain details while conveniently forgetting others. This selective recall can create a skewed representation of events, further proving that our memory does not mirror reality perfectly. Availability heuristic is a mental shortcut our brains take. We outweigh information that is more frequently accessible in our memories rather than the content of the information. What type of information that is more frequently accessible in our memories? Our memory retrieval is influenced by two factors: salience and familiarity. Do you remember what you were doing on September 11, 2001? Of course you do. It was a monumental event that has been engraved in our collective memory. That vividness makes the event easily retrievable in our memory, even more so than any random day like October 11, 2002. Our memory loves a good story, a fact that often leads us to overestimate the prevalence of memorable events. For example, many people believe tornadoes cause more deaths than asthma, though in reality, asthma is 70 times more lethal. Yet, however, tornadoes make the headlines, while asthma rarely does. Similarly, the visceral experience of surviving an earthquake compels people to purchase earthquake insurance, even though statistically, the risk of another earthquake happening soon after the first one decreases. But it's not all about salience. Familiarity, too, plays a significant role. In an experiment where participants were read a list of names, the lists include names of both men and women, some of whom were famous. When asked to recall if there were more male or female names, participants often stumbled. They were swayed by the allure of fame, basing their judgments on the fame of the names rather than the actual number. The participants' minds painted an inaccurate picture, skewed by the spotlight of fame. Here, it wasn't just about how vivid or emotionally charged the information was. Simple familiarity also plays a massive role in shaping their recall and judgments. It's similar to how you choose a movie to watch. You are more likely to pick a thrilling blockbuster with your favorite actor over a low-budget documentary about a remote village, even though the documentary might have a more profound impact on your understanding of the world. The availability heuristic also influences how we see ourselves. In an experiment, participants were asked to recall examples of their own assertiveness. Counterintuitively, those tasked with generating more examples ended up perceiving themselves as less assertive, even though they actually provided more instances showcasing their assertiveness. Why? The sheer effort required to retrieve more examples from their memory led them to question their initial self-assessment. The more they strain their memory, the more their self-perception of assertiveness dwindled. Here is another example. You are lined up for a job interview, and you are scheduled last. You might be feeling a little anxious watching all the other candidates go before you. But here is the silver lining. Being the last person to interview can actually work in your favor. The reason for this is tied to our cognitive shortcut, the availability heuristic. By the time the hiring panel gets to you, they've met many candidates and listened to a lot of responses. And who do they remember best? The most recent person they interacted with. You. Your answers, your enthusiasm, your qualifications are the freshest in their minds when they start discussing candidates and making decisions. In organizations, the availability heuristic also plays a significant role, especially when it comes to reacting to successes and failures. A business venture or project ends up as a massive failure, the proverbial Program A. That failure, with all its repercussions, will be deeply etched in the collective memory of the organization. In the aftermath of such a disaster, decision makers become highly sensitive to anything that reminds them of that failure. A new initiative, even one with great potential, may be rejected if it bears even the slightest resemblance to the ill-fated Program A. The vividness and the salience of the failed program overpowers the rational assessment of the new proposal. People's attitudes toward gay rights have undergone a seismic shift over the years. Using worldwide data across 160 countries from 2009 to 2015, researchers examined the effects of media freedom and internet access on gay rights. The results? Countries that demonstrated greater respect for gay rights shared two characteristics. They had free media and high rates of internet access. Those elements combined had a tremendously positive effect on the advancement of gay rights. The abundance of information available on gay rights was instrumental in steering public attitudes. Now let's talk about mere exposure effect. Have you ever hummed along to a tune you initially disliked but heard repeatedly? That's the mere exposure effect at play. The more we are exposed to something, be it a face, sound, flavor, or even an idea, the more we tend to like it. Think about your mirror image and a photo of yourself. You usually see yourself mirrored, whereas others see your image as it appears in photographs. Due to the mere exposure effect, you are likely to prefer your mirror image, while your friends might favor your photo image. And what about your voice? You probably find the sound of your own voice quite pleasant when you speak, but somewhat strange in a recording. This is because when you speak, the sound is transmitted via your skull bone, enriching the lower frequencies. In contrast, your friends hear your voice as it transmitted through the air, just like in a recording. Now take the mere exposure effect and use it to your advantage in your workplace. Maybe you've got a brilliant idea that's initially dismissed by your supervisor. Don't lose hope. Make your idea frequently accessible in your supervisor's memory. Let it be seen or heard repeatedly. As it becomes familiar, your idea seems less threatening and might even gain acceptance. The media rarely influences your decision directly by presenting compelling evidence that sways your opinion. Instead, the media is more likely to influence you indirectly by giving better coverage to selected issues than others. There was a strong correlation between the amount of media coverage of political issues and voters' ranking of the importance of those issues. It is the media coverage that makes certain issues frequently accessible in your memory. As a result, you believe those issues are the most important ones. What types of issues are most likely to get media coverage? They are not necessarily the issues that are salient to the public interest or the greater good, such as your neighborhood's trash pickup schedule, potholes, and maintenance and development of local parks and playgrounds. Instead, the media are more likely to cover issues that are emotionally arousing, familiar to newsroom staffers, inexpensive to report, and friendly to news directors' political leanings. By emphasizing specific issues over others, the media plays a constant loop of selected issues that eventually worm their way into your consciousness, convincing you that those are the most pressing matters of our time. Not everything we are frequently exposed to is true. Ever heard the phrase, repeat a lie over enough and it becomes the truth? The availability heuristic plays a role. Studies show that frequent exposure to false claims can make people believe them to be true. Popularity does not always equal truth.